Okay, I want to go over the compilation and execution here. This one here is how things are happening behind the scene. Um, so a batch, okay, is processed in this order. The SQL Server will compile all the statements in the batch. Compile means it converts the source code into binaries, right? Zeros and ones or whatever it is. Once you compile, if there's no error, then the next step is to execute. Okay, so you compile first, and then you execute. Compile and execute. It takes two processes behind the scene. Okay, so when you do that, when it does that, then if it compiles the statements, if there's no error, it will execute it, and it goes to the next line, compile it, if there's no error, execute it. If there's an error, it will stop there. Okay, end the batch, like I mentioned earlier. So for example, if I look at this example here, okay, let me go ahead and put it into the fit. So if you look at this table here, the first batch, the first go, I create a table called orders. Okay, I have an order ID, make an identity, so on. The second order is total, and it's money type. So it's going to execute this first batch first. It's going to compile this first batch. It will compile the first line. No syntax error. That's good. Okay. Then it's going to execute that. It will create a table with that structure. Move to the next line. Compile this. No errors. Execute that. That means the orders have already been there. I'm going to add that there. And then the data is now permanent in there already. And then this line is going to have an error because I have a non-matching fields, because this is identity. I cannot put that in the first field, right? So it's going to fail here. When that fails, then this statement and this statement, and any statements between here all the way to the go will be ignored. But these two are okay because they didn't have any error. So they're going to stay in the database. Okay? And then once they've been ignored, it'll jump to the next batch and then go down here. If you run this one here, it's going to run the statements, and then you will see that only one record has been added to that table. Okay? So this is the process. It compile, executes if there's no error. It could keep going on that list. So when it finds an error, it will stop there. And if this is the entire batch, then everything will be stopped from there on. Okay? To the end of that script. So if you want to, and the reason why you do go here is because maybe, you know what, these statements here, I want them to be permanent, and the rest, I'm not sure. Okay? Maybe that might generate error depending on where the data is coming from, right? So in that case, for sure, this is going to go in there, stay. This depending on some of the data. So in that case, you keep some and you don't keep some.